What's going on, guys? We gather here today to pay our respects. The massacre. 4 meta cards in Marvel Snap. Now, many of you guys could not make it today, but I was able to get a live feed of the Marvel Snap community and the words that they have to say. Let's go and pull that up right now. No. The feed. Holy Snap community, we've got ourselves an infamous day today. We have a complete shock and change to the meta of Marvel Snap. Not one, not two, 4 different cards completely dead, and you bet we're gonna pay our respects today as we look at all the changes. We also have some spicy buffs this afternoon, and we have cards that were dead that are resurrected and other nice changes. Let's hop in and take a look at the graves. First up, we say goodbye, so long, farewell, my friend, to Professor X, guys. You did know he was a 5-3 when Snap came out. Then he went down to a 5-1. Absolute oppressive. Him and his fellow companion Cannonball were just strictly in almost every single top-in meta deck in the game. They're taking him from a 5-1 ongoing, locked down the location, cards can't be added, removed, etc., to now he's going up to a 5-2. However, guys, you can now move cards in or out of Professor X's lane. So let's take a second and pay our respects. And by that, of course, I mean party your face off. Guys, Professor X has been the same since Marvel Snap has launched. He locks down a lane. You can't do anything about it. You play Brood. He's not going to spawn Broodlings. So many different things. Professor X completely locked down. Now, movement cards have a significant role in Professor X's whole game plan, really, both offensively and defensively. Right off the rip, guys, cards like Nightcrawler, Nocturne, Vision, these can go in and out of Professor X's lane, which is insane because there are so many decks that already utilize these universal plug-and-play cards. But at the same time, you're going to have maybe Jeff go down a little bit because, you know, he loses that exclusivity for Professor X. War Machine is even worse somehow. But, guys, this is a great change to stop the Cannonball, the Professor X mayhem that was just everywhere. X hasn't gone anywhere all the way back. Like, he was in lockdown decks, control decks. Thanos had him for a long time that you would ramp up to him in Psylocke, and finally they took care of him. All right, now he's still gonna have his uses and his role, but the problem is that move cards are universally, like I said, some of the most plug-and playable cards in the game. There are so many in a lot of decks out there, and this is definitely gonna finally hurt Mr. Q-Ball here. Now, on top of that, also switching sides is gonna matter as well. So your favorite cards like Annihilus can send junk over. Maybe if they lock down a rock with -1, you can now push that over to the other side. Or maybe you played a Hobgoblin on a lane and then he X'd it and your Goblin stays on your side. Now it's gonna go over to there. So a lot of ways to counter one of the best X-Men of all time, but by now we're kind of all sick of them, and this is a massive change. But we're not done, because we're going to go visit another gravestone in Cannonball, who really died before he could go off. Kind of guilty by association here. I kind of feel bad for him, but not really. He was a 5-8, and he is maintaining everything the same. He would move the highest power enemy card away from here, and if you can't, it would destroy it with a rock. A lot of people would just play Professor X, and that was an easy way to really just win a lot of games. Well, now that movement counts with Professor X, this strategy is gone, and on top of that, they're changing him from a 5-8 down to a 5-7. Talk about 2 birds, 1 stone. I mean, I don't even know if I think they needed to remove power. Just simply getting rid of the insane synergy that Cannonball had of pushing into the X lane. That's not going to work anymore. You're going to push those cards actually into X's lane and probably help them win. So if anything, it's a liability now. He's down on power as well. Still a great ability, but I had him in S tier in the latest podcast at the Snapchat for 5 cost cards. He's going to go down significantly. So whatever way you looked at it, another card that is dead. Not going to make it. Now we move on to the next gravestone in Hela. God, Hela's been everywhere. She was obviously the 6-6 that would revive all your discarded cards to random locations. And now she's the same, except those cards that revive have -2 power. Now, it's probably an overstatement saying she's dead. In fact, this isn't going to do all that much. It's going to help a little bit in some builds, right? Like an Infinite at 18 power is going to be okay. A Red Hulk, he'll be fine. More on him later. But, you know, it's not going to be massive, but the psychology around a nerf is more powerful than you think. People are probably going to stop playing it a bit more because of these changes, and it should at least help slow it down a little. You know, her and Luke Cage certainly might find a home together. Either way, I'm glad that the devs are at least addressing Hela in some sort of fashion, because this is a deck beloved by many but has reigned on the top for a while. And not that I'm discrediting anyone who plays it, but it is pretty brainless. It's a pretty easy deck, right, to go in and pop open and do what it does best. On top of that, they've got another valve they can adjust, right? They like to say this. So now if it's still too good, they turn this bad boy to -3, maybe -4. Dare I say -5. They have something to adjust outside of the base cost and power of the card, which we know Second Dinner likes to do. I kind of always thought they should limit like maybe 3 or 4 cards that could revive. I thought they were going to go that route. They went with the negative power route instead. All right, next up, guys, we have Ebony Blade being laid to rest just a little bit in somewhat of a massive way. Now, you guys know, of course, that if the Ebony Blade was ever created to, let's say, a 420 Infinite, it couldn't be destroyed, and its power could not be reduced, meaning that there was really no counter to the card. It was great in Death Domain. It was great in locations like Negative Zone. Didn't matter. You could play it wherever, and you don't have to fear Shang-Chi or Shadow King. But now, the power can be reduced. And this should have happened a long time ago. I've been talking about this for a while now. It needed some form of counter. The card was already pretty damn strong, having the opportunity to make something like a 4 cost 20 power card. Now, Shadow King is a very reliable counter to not only this, but obviously a lot of decks out there like Athena. But on top of that, Valkyrie, right? You have things like Valkyrie that can adjust this power down. There's locations that it's going to mess with. They're just trying to target the overall Black Knight Hela package, and Black Knight's still going to be plenty good, but this at least gives other decks and or counters a fighting shot. And as we approach our last grave here of the nerfs, guys, Red Hulk. Yep, he's getting nerfed again. Surprise, surprise. He was a 6'9" who would get +4 if you did not spend all of your energy. Now he's a 6'10", but only gaining +3 power if you did not use your energy. I just keep cracking up that this card even existed at the base release of what it was. It reminds me of like Goliath at base release too. The Red Hulk still needed to be touched up a bit. Again, the card could just be played wherever with no downside whatsoever. It's not going to be a dead card. It's certainly not going to be the 20s like it was on release, 30 power. So you're not going to have exactly the behemoth that you had once ago, but it's still very strong. It's still going to have its purpose, and it's going to act as a counter to things like High Evo and a lot of different decks that can't use energy every single turn. So Red Hulk is getting a pretty big nerf, and they're trying to make him not just be this ultimate plug-and-play 6-cost card. So there you have it, guys. Those are all the nerfs, all the gravestones of the fallen meta cards. And overall, I know some of you guys love these cards. Of course you did. They were great cards, but ultimately for the game, this is going to be so much better and just spark way more creativity and hopefully diverse the meta even further. Now we move on to something hilarious. Like, okay, like there are records that are not meant to be broken, right? Like Tom Brady's got a lot of records out there that I don't think anyone's gonna beat. And you know, I had to hit my Tom Brady quota for the video. I thought Phoenix Force was the fastest turnaround season pass card that we've ever seen. Wrong. Gilgamesh, my friends. Not even a week barely, and the card is getting already buffed up. You guys can see it here. He's going from that 5'7" that he was on release to now a 5'9". Something tells me that he wasn't exactly selling the season passes, so this is probably one of those that, you know, they're going to buff up, not only for the people that bought it, but hopefully to probably sell more of them. I don't know, but Gilgamesh definitely needed love. This card was just kind of really bad on release even, and hopefully this, alongside some other buffs we're about to talk about, is going to help out the Zoo archetype and where Gilgamesh is going to be working best. Really, just time has shown cards that rely on power boosting, things like Shaw, are very limited and narrow, and especially a 5-cost one at that. I'm certainly going to give Gilgamesh another try. I think he actually might have more potential now because it was just so hard to get that pure raw potential of a 5-cost card. In fact, a 5'9" is crazy. I'm kind of underselling this, guys. 5'11" is going to be really easy to achieve, and you can get this guy well above that, even into the mid-teens, if you just have a blue Marvel with a couple cheap cost cards on the board. And if you guys need a reminder, you guys can go see all the synergistic cards, but Ant-Man, Captain America, there's a lot of different cards that boost up Gilgamesh, and I think he's now going to have his own home, per se, in Snap. And speaking of Captain America, guys, well, he got a buff, right? A couple weeks ago, we were super excited about it, and he's getting another one. He's going up from a 3-2 to a 3-3. I'm not going to complain, right? Captain America could be on every single balance patch for the next, like, I don't know, 3 months, and I'm going to be happy about it. So, yep, he's going up a power point. That Spectrum build already felt fine to me. They said it went down more than they intended it, but I still think it's a really good deck, and Captain America just got all that much better. We're in on 2 last cards. Shanna is getting another crack at a buff here, guys. She was a 3-2 on reveal. Add a random 1-cost card to each location. She's going up to a 3-4. Now, in turn with Gilgamesh, this is going to be great in zoo decks. I thought maybe this could work before she got buffed at Gilgamesh, and I cut Shanna pretty fast. The random variance was just way too much. The clog is way too much. She adds cards, not plays them. Doesn't work with Sasquatch or Mockingbird, in which Mysterio does. There's a lot of reasons not to play Shanna, but a 3-4? Okay. With some other 1-cost cards, I could really ramp up early. I'm going to definitely give her a shot. I'm still not convinced, but definitely the stats and the value are going to be there. But again, locations are so sacred when it comes to the space that you have to work with. We're going to see if this really helps out Shanna in the zoo builds alongside Gilgamesh. And then last but not least, we have by far the best buff of today. I can't even believe this. In fact, I missed it the first time I read it. Stegron is going from a 4-6. Of course, on reveal, you would move an enemy card from here to another random location. Now, he's a 4-7, folks. But now you know he's going to move a card 1 location to the right. I can't really explain to you guys how good this is. This is a great change. Anytime you remove random variants with targeted variants, especially when you're moving and disrupting cards, phenomenal. Stegron can now be played only 4 cost, and you know you can push that solo lane Devil Dinosaur over to the right. You don't have to hope and beg it goes into a storm-flooded location. The control decks, the move decks are going to love Stegron. Was always fine by definition, but never made the cut. Was always the worst card of the deck. Stegron is definitely going to find a home with not only a much better ability, but more power to his name. By far, I think the highlight of this patch, outside of some of the nerfs to maybe Professor X, don't sleep on this. This is going to be a lot bigger than you think. So there it is, guys. That is every single card that died today, that got resurrected, or had small adjustments to it. And by far, this is one of the better OTAs that I can remember in recent memory. We've had kind of sleeper patches lately. There hasn't been a lot going on in terms of balance. Thanos kind of had a little change that was fun, but this is going to definitely shake up just the overall gameplay as we continue to head into the summer. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, I can't tell you, I just suck at this, I guess. It means a lot if you subscribe. We're climbing up to 150. If you enjoy the content, if you're here all the time, click the red button down below as I'm chasing the goal. Anyway, guys, appreciate you stopping by. And as always, until the next one, happy snapping.